Hey!
Hey! We can't hear you, but you can chat with us.
Wait, can I do it? Can you hear me now? Ooh, lots of Can't hear a gall darn thing.
Display audio.
Oh!
Hey, now we hear you too.
Oh my god, that was amazing.
Not very loudly, but we do hear you.
That's probably because my microphone is like way over on the yonder fields of, I don't know.
So what we missed was Chuck. We all gave you one of these. We welcomed you, but you didn't hear it because everybody. Chuck is our second executive producer on the project, so we want to make sure that he is like fully loved. Jason is the man behind Zelda Universe and the upcoming Square Nut. And who else do we have? We have David. Can't see that third. So anyway, we're here. We can't hear you very well, but if you text, we can respond to your chat. And who we have right now, we have myself, we have Tommy, who is an animator, we have Austin, the illustrator, his wife Sherry, who's here for alcohol support, and Elizabeth, who's our narrative developer, and my dog Georgia, who will be making loud noises. There's nowhere good for me to sit. I'm trying to like not hide anybody.
If you want to.
Yeah. I'll pop over here and then and then pull that chair. Yeah, there we go. Now everybody's here. Yeah, I would love to hear. Unfortunately, like I said, we can't hear you guys. Hopefully, you can hear us. But if you use the chat function, I can hear you. Type to us. We'll be able to hear you, and we'd love to know what your questions are and what you're thinking about this project and what you're interested in hearing more about from this crew, and just having a drink with us to celebrate how awesome this is going so far. We crossed $31,000 today. We are less than a used car away from having this thing realized.
All right. That was Chinese food calling.
I can kind of hear you a little bit, Jason, but it's not your fault. I think it's because I got to use these crappy speakers. Let me try one more trick here. I think this is going to work.
Can you hear me now?
This is going to work. I think this is going to work.
What?
I have this feeling. I have this.
Does this work? How does internet?
Oh snap! It's
Oh, you
on.
got the headphones plugged in.
It's on, but that means these are plugged in as well. Which means I'm going to blast everyone's ears out in a second.
That's okay, I wasn't using them.
Anyways, you all have until my Chinese food arrives to impress me.
We have until your Chinese food arrives. Is that what you said?
Yes, to impress me.
Ah. Well, we are going to do a dance and song, but I think you're going to miss that part, so I'm sorry.
Oh.
We have a whole musical number planned.
It's all a wash then.
It was going to be set to like Mortal Kombat music in the background or something.
Was this going to be like one of those interpretive dance fight scenes?
Yes, that's it. We didn't want to spoil that for you, but
I'm pretty sure Avatar already did that.
I'm gonna go grab a beverage. Feel free to ask any of the crew anything other. I know. Looks like we got 2 other people rocking in here. You guys have questions, thoughts, whatever, please.
Yeah, I guess I'll start the party. So I actually don't know anything about programming NES cartridges, and I've also, probably to the dismay of Joe, I've never actually played a real NES game.
You're a charlatan, sir.
My first console was a Sega Genesis. So
Oh! Ooh!
I never even owned a Super Nintendo because the Sega Genesis had blast processing, man. Blast processing. Blast so many pixels. No, but I've always been fascinated with how games used to be developed, and I don't even know what a Mode 7 is. I'm a youngin'. So I've always been totally fascinated at how people made these games, before computers had GUIs and stuff like that. Just to I know how games get made nowadays because I had the really good fortune of sitting down with Eiji Aonuma in 2013, and I'm like, what was it like to build a Link Between Worlds? And he basically just said, oh, I got on a computer and I made it in like a night, and that was my demo. And like A Link to the Past was this like hard toiled work that they like sat down and they're like, we got to make a game. Anyways, what is it like making a NES game today, and what conveniences are you guys using that they definitely did not have back in the day that would otherwise have made your life a living hell?
That is an excellent question.
Too bad you're busy getting a beverage.
Sorry.
I can't answer it with your mouth full of various forms of liquids.
Sorry. Hey, we're celebrating, man. We are so close to this thing.
You are. I am so like. Am I allowed to say proud?
Yes. But hey, we are happy. I'll get to your question in a second, but for those of us just joining, Jason is the mastermind behind the Zelda Universe site, and he has been very kind to me and my dumb projects. And honestly, you guys launched this one. I mean, you ran the story first.
Yeah, we did, I guess.
Yeah,
I handled it like a freaking champ.
Well, I remember when I first had the idea, I said, hey, when I did that stupid little video that was just testing the waters to see if my friends and family would be interested, and I showed it to you, and you said, can we put this on the site? I was like, no, I'll do a real one for you. This is just to see if people would be interested.
It was good.
So we might have to bring back the ZU beard for the game. Yeah, don't you remember the game on the Zelda?
Oh my God, I do remember that.
For your support, I gave you the Zoo beard, so that might make an appearance. We'll call something Zoo. I don't know. There'll be a character named Zoo, and he'll have a giant beard.
I don't know, my beard isn't that giant. It is meticulously trimmed.
Sure. Developing for the NES now versus back in the day. I mean, they didn't even have computers that had like graphic user interfaces in 1985. I mean, really, that's like the Macintosh computer had just come out, and now I can build my own tools with graphic user interfaces built in that can export the binary data that I need. I can't even fathom how it used to be, like literally using graph paper to figure out what numbers would correlate to things and then having to plug those numbers in like one at a time. Oh my God, like seriously? So that's going to save a ton of time and make things a lot easier. Graphically, too, the graphic tools are so much easier than they used to be. Again, I think it was number-based back then. They would plug in numbers, and that's how they build sprites. They correlate what numbers, whatever. Now you have tools that export that kind of data for you.
So what are you programming this in?
Yeah, you have to program them off the graph paper, yeah. And hey, John, good to see you, sir. Oh, we can't hear you if you're talking, but I don't think. But you can text if we're not hearing you. John. Yeah. Anybody else? 640K.
Also, wasn't available at the time was the
Oh yeah,
that has a sort of communal knowledge
sure.
to solve problems.
Well,
I mean,
yeah, and you know, a community that can definitely help solve problems. But even more than that, people have completely documented the NES now, and it is public information. And anyone can get online and learn how to do this stuff if they have enough patience and whatever. But back in the day, one of my friends, one of the guys I was on a podcast with, said something really startling, and it's probably absolutely true. He said, back in the days of programming for the NES, the amount of people actually able to program for the NES would probably have fit in a large movie theater. And that's it. Those are the only people who knew how to do it in the entire world. It was that small of a community, and they were guarded with how they did things. Now there's thousands of people, tens of thousands of people that can program for the NES and that do, and that help each other out and show things and, are on. There's also just, how about the internet? We are communicating with our team in San Francisco on a regular basis. How would we have been able to? We would have been sending letters back and forth, faxing people. Like,
I think they had more advanced technology than letters back then.
85?
85? They may not even have had writing utensils back then, if we're going back that far.
But, maybe phone calls, but, trying to tell somebody, a long-ass series of numbers to plug in that is going to represent the sprite and things like that. I can't even music composition to the numbers. That'd be, crazy.
So is that how it was? They plugged in numbers? There wasn't, a programming language that they used?
Let's see, we got a comment coming in. I can't say if I'm very knowledgeable about the subject, but I remember reading a lot of that was due to video games being used, the amount of... Yeah, exactly. And no one knew who would be interested in video games. What's that? That comment is from, and I'm sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. It looks like Bonnie, is that correct? Danny? I apologize if I'm mispronouncing.
It's Danny, but I know it's a weird name. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh, yes, we can hear you. That's awesome. Benny, thank you so much for the comment. Yeah, at the time, nobody knew what video games were going to be like, and that there was going to be a market beyond a handful of 10-year-old kids that wanted to play them. So yeah, there was no training, there was no classes. You kind of learned how to program computers, and then said, I want to be crazy and do video games in this really niche market, whatever. So absolutely, yeah, there did not exist. Now
I'm sure they were programmers first. And,
game makers second. Exactly. They learned how to program to make some new software for this computer, or cash machines or whatever else, who knows? And then they decided, I'm going to try video games, and now you could be, I taught school kids how to make video games. I was a teacher and taught young kids, so I don't know, it's totally different. That's going to be frustrating too. Using modern tools, I could probably make the game that we're going to make for the NES in a week or two. I could probably program. It's going to take a year to program on the NES.
Aren't you already making a different version?
Yes. I'm just saying that's how long the NES version is going to take. How much of that time? Okay. Yeah.
The regular game is that fast. Game, please.
Well, Austin has been with me on a very fast production cycle. Austin was part of the Global Game Jam team that I was on, and we cranked out a game. We did half of it in Unity and said, you know what, this is not going as fast as I want, so I jumped over to Game Maker and cranked out the entire...
I was going to ask if you were using Game Maker.
Yeah, I know, but I was able to crank out the game in 24 hours, and...
Well, part of the thing was we were trying to use a functionality that would have only worked in Unity and come together, right. So what was a
24-hour game?
So. For Joe.
Game Maker had a ridiculous heyday back in the mid-2000s.
Yeah. Well, it's still a neat program to learn programming on, because what's nice is one of the hardest things about programming is that it's such a steep learning curve if you have no experience with it or whatever. And what happens is if you were trying to build a game from scratch and the only way to get things to happen were to program it, a lot of people that are going to end up being good developers, they crash and burn right away. They can't handle it because they're not seeing that sort of instant gratification of something happening. But with Game Maker, you can learn the drag and drop functionality and kind of learn the logic behind it, and then sort of extend into programming that really prepares you for programming in other languages like JavaScript or C# or whatever. And that's kind of how I taught my students in high school. I taught them drag and drop functionality the first year, then we moved on to scripting language, and then they were in Unity working with JavaScript. So I think it's a great tool still.
Yeah, that's incredible. I didn't know that people still used it. And also back in the day, and I wonder if people are also still using Multimedia Fusion.
I don't think so. John is asking, how much have we been playing classic 8-bit Nintendo games while preparing, researching, since starting this project?
Too much.
It's very important to research.
Yeah. I've been almost intentionally trying to tell Elizabeth not to research too much yet, because she is not someone who's played a lot of retro games, and she's developing the narrative for the story. So I want her to sort of go in blind, not knowing what constraints she'll be limited to in trying to tell this story until the cameras are rolling, and then she's going to get really mad at me when she tries to squeeze her narrative down to, something that will fit in the 8-bit cartridge. But I've got my main machine in the corner. I've been playing the shit out of 8-bit games, so.
I've been wanting to a lot and haven't been able to because I gave my NES to a friend a few years ago who then Goodwilled it. So I've been deciding whether to, should I buy one online or should I wait for one of the custom ones, because I want those and I sure as hell don't need two.
Yeah, first backer getting a custom Mystic Searches NES today. Woohoo! Have I thought about doing a Kickstarter for those main machines? You mean to put the game on the main machine? Oh, it'll go on there. It can. It's just it'll ROM, so we could, like an actual Mystic Searches main machine. There you go.
It could be Mystic Search's main machine, or it could be a separate Kickstarter for main machines that people can like.
Oh yeah. Like I have it, but we could start developing our wood shop skills and building main cabinets, I guess.
So much money, all the money.
Yeah. There's actually a company that does them online. I was gonna actually buy a new one from this company, and then this one went on sale like a couple blocks from my house. So I was like, oh, all right. I guess that's the one that's going to be in my home.
I know what my next crazy purchase is.
Yeah, it's worth it, man.
Oh yeah.
Great piece to have as a dimly lit screen in the corner of the room.
I mean, it makes you look like a legit gamer.
Yeah.
Which you are.
Does not have a fireplace.
We were looking for a game that had crackling fire constantly in the start screen, so it could be a fireside chat with us,
Ah, couldn't you have just programmed one?
Jason thinks of everything. Yeah. So what about you guys? Who else is on? We got 4 people on. It's a desktop cabinet, basically, just loop a GIF or video of pixelated fire. Yeah, I mean, if we really wanted to spend the time, we could have done that.
We thought of it in about 2 seconds.
Yeah, like, ooh, fireside chat. Let's put a fire on. Damn it.
We had to name it something.
Could light it on fire.
We could have lit it on fire. Yeah. We light the dog on fire. Have her run around. Okay, Chuck wants to hear more about modern game.
We were just talking about.
We were just talking about that before you came on, and the sad part is that we don't know what to say about the modern game yet. But
it will be modern.
It will be modern and a game. No. We've actually been having a large conversation about the art style, and here's what the original intent was: that it was going to be a 3D game, 3D world, 3D models. Play like a 3D game with an analog stick, and a 3D version of that world. But in doing the Kickstarter, when people saw that, that sort of mock-up, they said, "Oh, that looks cool, but I actually like the pixel style better." And we said, "Wow, huh?" They said, "I'd rather play another pixel game for a PC that would be more intense, not have to stick to the NES constraints, than play you know, a 3D model game that kind of looks like it was on an iPhone or something. And I said, that's really interesting. Okay, and enough people said it that we started to rethink it. And so we've conceptualized a 3D game. We've conceptualized a really 2.5D still pixel art game, but with, you know, with more advanced things that we couldn't do on the NES. And we've conceptualized, you know, sort of a cell animation version that is mostly made up of hand-drawn animations. And you know, we don't know which way that we're going to take it. But that's one thing that we were talking about tonight. We were also talking about the narrative direction, and we really want these to sort of be the same game, but not the same game. So that if you're playing the modern one, it's a different experience than if you're playing the actual NES one. But they have very similar mechanics and a very similar feel. And we have a couple cool ways that we want to do that. I don't know if we want to.
Take place as part of the same narrative, but you're not playing the same game concurrently,
Right.
just in a modern or an NES version. They are part of a larger story.
Right. So I don't want to ruin too much of that, just in case it's a spoiler type of thing
And/or it's something
that we decide not to use. Yeah. And I don't want to lock ourselves into it. But that is a point of contention right now. That's one thing that we were talking about tonight in our meeting before we jumped on with you guys. Let's see.
Say who's when.
Yeah. Let's see. Jason says, next title of the series, Mystic Searches Generations, where you play the game in alternating classic modern intervals. And we actually thought about, that was another concept of having basically a switch that would take it from a 3D model game.
The ones that I sent through
It actually is really cool. I like that idea.
Benny says, I'm a bit curious how the cart will share data. Find out yet. There's a single save file, all versions of the cart can access or separate save files. You know, save themselves or what, or are those ideas of how the game works not planned yet. Essentially, how it's going to work is there's a save RAM that games use the same mechanic.
that's because
battery backup RAM.
Okay.
And that's just going to feed a flash memory. I'm sorry, I was distracted. It's going to feed flash memory.
Yeah, I guess that's funny.
We basically figured out that this is possible to do. We figured out about how much memory we'll be able to share, and we have no idea exactly how we're going to utilize that. We're kind of like dogs to the bone right now. It's so exciting that we can do it. Now we're like, ooh, but what can we do with that? Let's see how cool of an idea this can actually be. So, we know we can do it. Now, what we're going to do now. If anybody,
Wait, yes.
Yep. We should be dancing now. Everything got quiet. We should dance.
That's when we're trying to talk.
Someone's talking about
Oh, great voice from beyond the beyond.
What would you guys like to see? I mean, since you guys are on with us, help us, conceptualize. What would you guys sort of like to see in the modern version of the game?
I feel like I do a bunch.
Whether it be narratively or, artistically, what?
So one of the things that always, one of my favorite projects in gaming is this kind of. Is someone talking?
Somebody else.
Oh,
Yeah, we can't use them. We don't have. If you're not actually talking, please, so we don't hear.
Yeah, I can't seem to mute anybody. So if you're not talking directly to us, if you could mute that way, we can communicate a little bit easier. You guys are awesome. Thank you. So what were you gonna say, Jason? Sorry.
Oh, okay, I'll go. So one of my favoriteest little silly projects that a game developer has ever done was done by Clover Studios to promote Okami. when they put out the game on PS2, they simultaneously released a mini site with a retro version of Okami, with retro versions of all the music, and you played through what was basically an 8-bit version of like the beginning of the game, and it was so freaking cool. They even released a soundtrack for it, which I think you downloaded after you completed it. Anyways, it was freaking awesome. But it was also a totally different kind of experience than the regular Okami that really highlighted like what was possible and what it would really be like if it were an 8-bit game. And to me, like the two games, I always feel like they should be very different. They should be designed to highlight, what you're capable of now versus what you're capable of then. But also be really true to the design of games as they were back then, and not try to be like. Fez is a really great example of a modern 8-bit game, which I don't think either of these two things should be.
Okay.
Like I really think it should be made like as if it were conceptualized today, the modern version.
Absolutely, and that's one of the things we were talking about, was that the modern game gives us the opportunity to all the things that we are stymied from doing in the NES version of the game. This gives us an outlet to show our stuff and make the kind of game that we would make if we weren't also trying to do an NES game.
And still kind of like realize that world in a modern sort of way. So, would you stop? Sorry, my dog. So if I was a 7-year-old now trying to make Mystic Searches the game, what would be different about that experience? And then sort of try and connect the two with the modern game, I still want it to feel like it belongs to the same world. Someone should be able to play both games and say, this is like an updated version of that other game. Awesome. But at the same time, I want it to have more modern mechanics and more modern graphics, and the soundtrack be updated and stuff like that. So,
one of the great things about the NES game, I think, is that you bring so much of your own imagination to it. It's almost like a road sign or something like this. It's so iconic, that it really requires your imagination to sort of fill in the blanks. The modern game, just whether we try to or not, is going to be significantly more specific.
Yeah.
For that world, and so we're going to need to
figure out
pay attention to how.
For instance, a tree in an NES game can only look so many different ways because it's an NES game. You have 8 pixels to play with. You only have 3 colors, whatever. But in our modern game, what will the different foliage all around this world look like in these different areas and stuff like that? And so we really have to concentrate on a lot more details when we're designing the modern version of the game versus when we're designing the 8-bit.
So have you found that one of the progressions from classic gaming to modern gaming is that because these designers were forced to have their sprites, be what size, and you had this color palette, they had to develop some pretty iconic designs that kind of transcended, the various games. Like the Mario question mark block is probably the best, most prominent example of this. Like, you still find them in modern Mario games, even though the games themselves are almost completely different in every conceivable way from...
You really don't need them to achieve the same gameplay mechanic, but...
You don't need them, but it's the design choice of keeping those iconic parts that were a necessity of the original game that makes the modern games nostalgic feeling. So are you guys trying to like, what order are you developing them in, if any? And if you're doing it from classic to modern, are you looking to try and like bring those iconic elements to the modern game so that people almost feel nostalgia for the classic version?
That's a really good question, and I think this is how it's going to work. Everything's still very much in concept phase, so I wouldn't even say we're in pre-production yet. It's really concept because I want it to be a project with a year life cycle. So it's kind of like I want October 18th to be day one, and to have cameras rolling. But the way that I can almost see this happening is we're developing this gorgeous concept art and these beautiful narrative designs for the world and stuff like that. And we are going to then have to tame those considerably to fit inside an 8-bit package. However, we won't have to tame them to be part of the modern package. So what you're going to see in the modern package is something that really sort of resembles a lot of the concepts that we're creating. And then the 8-bit version is the sort of 8-bitified version of those concepts. And I think that's probably closest to how it's going to operate.
Yeah, I think we're definitely in a free-form concept phase now, and you know, making it work in the NES game is going to have us revise some of those concepts. And we may revise them cross-platform, or we may say, well, we'll do it that way in the modern game, but for the NES it has to be this way. But definitely, you know, paying attention to that kind of iconography and how to tell the stories in a intuitive way is a huge part of what we're looking for in the NES game.
I'm surprised you said question block and not Triforce.
Hey, I can't make everything Zelda.
It's fascinating, just in talking about this project, how much of gaming vernacular is an outgrowth of the constraints of the original NES. I mean, there are absolutely things that we expect of gaming that we know because of gaming, because of the NES.
Yeah.
So I have to run, but I have one last question.
Yeah.
Will you be shipping your NES cartridges pre-filled with dust to blow out?
We should.
Yes.
We should absolutely like have some kind of thing where it's like a ticker tape type thing or whatever, and
I'll start saving all my cat hair now.
but like it's like confetti or something, you know, and you have to blow on it to actually get it. That'd be hilarious.
Oh my god, that'd be so great.
If there was some way to make it so you had to blow on the modern version to make it like we actually develop a controller. And to play the modern, like you can blow in the cartridge, and it's like an air velocity controller. It does something to the game.
I'm pretty sure the DS tried that in about every single game.
Actually, hold on. Don't leave yet. Wait 3
Okay.
seconds. I have to show you something that you will really appreciate.
Okay.
Hold on. I gotta find it.
The new Bop It uses one of those buttons.
Oh, this is a
Oh
great.
my god.
What are you talking about?
You Bop It?
Oh,
They weren't done with the old one?
you're old. You're too old. It's like Bop Extreme something.
Bop It. Are you like mashing it against your head?
No.
Your version?
Obviously, you know this game.
Yes.
If I wanted to get this game to work in my NES and it wouldn't work, how would you suggest I solve that problem, based on what we just talked about?
Oh, I would probably open it up and use some sort of internet guide to solder in the correct. I would blow on it.
So, in order to get this to work, I have to. It's a fucking harmonica in this other cartridge.
Ah!
I thought you.
Ah!
This was a mandatory Etsy buy. I had to.
Did you have that when I came down and you did not show it to me?
Yes, I did have this when you came down, and I did not show this to you. Yes, I was hiding it. I wanted to surprise you.
Not cool, bro.
Version in Ocarina. Yeah, we thought about somehow using this like in the narrative, like oh things are just down, we're out of luck, you know, and like playing some Zelda melody. I can't really play the harmonica. So.
And here, wait. I'm not gonna one up you, but before I go, I'm also gonna go grab something.
Okay.
Oh, good. It's become show and tell.
So this is my. Oh, too far. Oh, nope, too far the other way. Damn, slippery floors. This is my bag o' ocarinas.
Oh my goodness.
It's literally just a bag full of ocarinas. So as the Zelda dude, I just get sent these.
Yeah.
I don't know how to play them. I mean, I don't play them either. This one's a shield. Yep.
Oh, Jason, play me the Song of Storms.
You got it.
Yeah.
Close enough.
Nice.
I could play it on this. Yeah,
Nice.
really. Full Metal Alchemist fan?
Yay!
Okay, that one's easier because it's like, anyways, that's my bag of ocarinas.
Well, thank you,
Nerd swag too.
And thanks for checking in. Obviously, this project looks like it's going to kick, so I'm looking forward to crashing on your couch in Philadelphia over the course of filming.
Yes, please.
So
Plenty of couch to crash on, so come visit.
I'm looking forward to. Actually, we have a reason to come up to Baltimore too, so that works out. So yeah, so we'll talk to you soon, buddy.
Yeah, good luck, guys.
Thank you. Enjoy your Chinese food. All right. Well, now the loud person's gone. You guys have been quiet. Jason's awesome, by the way. He's the coolest guy.
Stop! Would you stop? What are you doing? You're so crazy because all these people are here.
All right. Danny says, so both versions of the game will essentially be the same game and playable from start to finish on their own, right? Will you be required to switch at certain points, and can you switch at any time? Let's having that conversation too. We had a
Best possible solution.
I know, and we had multiple ways of thinking about this. One of which the purest way to think about it is no, of course you must have an NES to play the game. You must have an NES. But then we said that's not very fair to people who really want to play the game. Have an NES
Or who are willing to try both versions.
It's like one aesthetic more than the other. So that became a thing. So we talked about like having to progress through at least the ROM to a certain point to open up the necessary things in the modern game, and then we talked about having an embedded version of the game. Like, there's a lot of still question about that.
Versions of the others where you're playing the same game, whichever version you're playing.
Right. So
That's probably the least interesting version.
again, we're sort of in this. So your input at this point is very valuable. We hear that? It's a beautiful sound. I mean, it does present a interesting conundrum because the real deliverable is the NES game, of course. That's the the documentary. And the modern game is more of a like, this is so cool, we have to do this. Hey, somebody's husband just joined. I'm at. Okay, Benny says, asking because I was mostly curious if only items, abilities, etc. is transferred between the versions, or if literally you can save on one version then resume exactly from there on the other.
Ooh.
And yeah, and that is the question. I think. I don't know how much I want to give away based on what we were talking about.
Yeah, I mean, spoilers.
Yeah.
We're deep in that discussion right now.
Yeah.
On one hand, the modern game, it's not the main deliverable, but
it
it's
should
not
be
an
awesome.
afterthought.
Yeah.
It's definitely an outlet for some things that we're not capable of doing in the NES. So how exactly they're going to interface and how much data can be shared between. It's going to be an evolving discussion, I think. That answer.
One thing that we were, you can go ahead and not reveal if it's a spoiler. I would rather be surprised. Okay, I was just about to before you wrote that. So let's put it this way. I don't think that the games are going to work where they're exact parallels of each other. I think it's going to be more like they're sort of existing at the same time. And there are different things to unlock in the various games, and they're both playable start to finish. But what you can do if you're interfacing is going to be considerably cooler than if you weren't interfacing.
And that there's going to be a narrative justification
And there's
for
yes.
two different versions.
And there's a narrative justification. It's not just there's two games here. And they won't be sequels. I'll give you that hint. thoughts, questions. We are so quiet. We're ready for some raucous activity here. Now I thought you said you didn't want any spoilers, sir. We asked, so then they are the same characters in the same storyline or different? We were having, like literally right before we started this conversation, we were having that discussion. So we had something that we all kind of thought was cool narratively. I'm not going to tell you though. It's fun. I have no idea what will be a spoiler or not. Like I said, you can go ahead and not answer. It'll be fun. That's it. For now.
Well done.
You'll really like it. Really, really like it. You'll tell everybody it's the coolest thing. I think that if it goes the way that we were talking about earlier tonight, that people will enjoy the cross-pollination of the games. Isn't that what Angry Video Game Nerd drinks? Oh no, you're just Rolling Rock. Very excited for that, especially to see it happen on a physical NES. I know! I thought terribly of something that I don't think would work, and that's like having the USB plugged in to your computer while playing the game on the NES, and like literally jumping back and forth. I don't think that's the way we're gonna have it set up, but that would be fascinating too. I think the universe would implode.
That's how AIs.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, Tron like.
Well, you know what happened is the universe, like the internet, would connect with the NES like for the first time ever.
Break the internet.
Yeah. Yeah, it might not.
Something would be released.
Right. Exactly. We were going more ridiculous, saying that What? John, dude, are you serious? John, holy shit, man. John just backed the project as an executive producer as well. Everyone, please. John is an excellent personal friend of film and fellow filmmaker in the area. Well, I guess it's not that ridiculous to have him pledge because he's probably going to have a camera thrown in his hands throughout the course of the project. So I guess you're, now you're really committed.
Thank you, Andrew.
And by the way, now if it sucks, it's on you, man.
You have to share all your links.
Yeah. You have to share all of your film hardware and whatnot now. You're directly involved. That's part of the responsibility. That sounds good, he says. That's not actually, now that makes, and TJ has backed the project and and said that TJ would be more lend his services whenever needed and possible. So we have a lot of Minnesota films, folks. Hey, Robert just joined us.
Yo.
Rob, what's up, dude?
Not much. How you doing, buddy?
Well, I'm doing great because our good friend John just pledged for executive producer level, and we are at $33,557.
Yes! I like it. I like it. That's exciting.
Everybody, Rob will probably make his way into the documentary. He's been one of our biggest supporters. He created a documentary now called Nintendo Quest. You want to talk a little about your project real quick so everyone can hear?
Yeah, the quick short version is I challenged my best friend, fanatic video game collector Jay Bartlett, to get all the North American NES retail games in 30 days with no online purchases. So we hit the road to get all 678 games in person while also talking to people about the impact and long-lasting legacy and endurance of the NES and Nintendo culture.
Oh my god.
So
That's epic.
we've been in touch since I was working on the Zelda documentary, and I followed their progress. And when he saw what we were doing for this project, we've had many online discussions, and I think we've decided that they are such kindred spirit projects. It's almost like his is about the NES in the heyday, and ours is about the new generation. Like they're the original series, and we're the next generation, so to speak, of the NES documentary. And then we've been trying to conceptualize. Well, we've been trying to conceptualize what's the epic third quest going to be. Like what's the trilogy?
The first one is to pay homage to what existed by taking present-day time and getting it all together. Your documentary is taking that love one step further and creating something and adding to the legacy. What is the third piece, though? What is the third piece?
Miyamoto.
Programmers in nursing homes. Saying, I'm too old for this shit.
But yeah, we've been, Rob also introduced us to Mark Erickson, the artist
Awesome,
who did the actual NES box art and stuff.
Yeah,
So,
you can see them in the background there. You can see Mega Man 2 and then Tetris over there, sort of.
I don't think we see your.
No?
I don't see your video feed.
No, I must be hidden to you guys, huh? Okay.
Yeah, we saw like a fire.
Oh,
We see.
weird.
Oh yeah, there's our fireside chat.
Your icon.
Your icon is the fire for this fireside chat, I guess. That's awesome. But yeah, for those of you who have just joined us, Banny says that he sees you come up randomly. We haven't seen you yet. For those of you just joining us, I'm Joe. Is the man who's making all the pretty pictures, so that you've probably seen online and Facebook and whatnot. Elizabeth is our narrative developer. She will be making story and stuff out of my 7-year-old's nonsense. Sherry is Austin's wife here for near support, and Tommy is one of our animators. And he did the 3D model for the character that's seen in the Kickstarter video. So this is
nice.
we had another team member on. I don't know, he disappeared, and one of our team members is moving today from Portland or from Denver to Portland. Yeah, so they're in a car right now. I said to say everybody hello.
Cool. It's really awesome to see the whole team together. I think that's awesome. It's the community in one frame. I love it.
Yeah, we worked hard to get it, and the main machine too. That was important.
18 hours.
Priorities.
Yeah. So Rob, what's up with your project, man? Tell us a little bit more about what's next for you guys, where you're at.
We're at legal right now. We have a big meeting on Friday with our lawyer to see what is A-OK, fair use-wise, and what isn't. So that's kind of got me a little nervous because it could mean we massively have to change our cut. We haven't locked it or anything.
NES game at all.
What's that?
You are not allowed to show any NES games at all.
Yeesh. That might be a deal breaker. That might be a straight to YouTube release if that's the case. So yeah, that's basically where we're at. We anticipate good things from that conversation, and then it's just really figuring out our release schedule. We've got some ins with some festivals we're looking to pull. We're probably going to do some theatrical week-long runs here and there across the country in some of the places that we visited, like maybe Austin and Pittsburgh and Portland, very retro gaming-friendly communities. And then once that's done, as you guys probably know, it takes about 6 months to get it into the digital world on Netflix and iTunes. And right around then, it'll be around October 2015, which, of course, you guys know is a magical date, too.
Oh, I see what you're doing. You're going to try and upstage us at the last minute, sir.
But here's the deal. Some of us don't plan it by coincidence.
Right?
Coming together sort of thing. It'll be like the Burning Man of retro gaming.
Yeah, right. That'll be the retro. That'll be what we do. And what we'll do is I'll put out some of the tutorials early, and we'll just have people start making games, and we'll just come out guns blazing.
Love it.
whole new crop of NES games to check out. Did you have any questions for us or for the team, or now that you're partnering on with some of us?
Not really. I mean, I've been following really closely, obviously, and I get to see all the updates, everything from, conceptual art all the way through to just everything that you guys have really posted in through the media. Joe, I think I've read as many of the stock answers to the normal questions that you get that I'm getting burnt out on them as much as you are probably repeating them, which I think is cool. I guess the big question from the writing standpoint, what's the biggest challenge in writing for a game like this when you're so tempted to go so large with a narrative of this kind? How do you bring in the reins of world development and character knowing that you can only fit so much on a cartridge?
Well, we haven't quite told her exactly how she's going to be limited yet. We've just been giving her full reign because the turmoil that will result when we do kind of express how limited it's got to be is going to make great documentary material.
You foolish man!
I'll tell you the biggest restriction right now for me is exactly as Luke said, is that because I don't come from a background in gaming and I don't have the world's biggest portfolio of experience in NES games, I don't understand those limitations at this point, which Joe thinks is hilarious. the biggest part of the challenge, I'm extremely excited to find out how torturous my life is going to be over the next year. Simply because I come from that standpoint of creating a world from that empty space of imagination where there are no limitations at all.
Well, the good thing for you is they say the best creative projects come when you're put into a box. Now, imagine trying to fit into a shoebox, and divide that in half, and then divide that in half again. It's like a Russian puzzle. You think you're getting something large, and every time you realize what you're dealing with, it's one layer smaller.
Exactly. I think it's going to be an empowering and incredible experience for me at the threshold of a writing career. It's going to teach me, I think, some very valuable lessons in using technical ability in the craft, where every word is precious and every concept has to be communicated as concisely as possible. And the other thing is, this is a fantasy game. This isn't a race car game. This is something that, by its very nature, has to be of a complex and sort of this kind of I don't know, disguise, I suppose. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
As a writer, I applaud you for jumping in feet first with this. I think this is going to be probably my favorite part of the documentary.
You got to understand, I didn't give her an option. I said, "Oh, you're going to work on this project with me because you're a published fantasy author, and that's awesome. So you have to do this now."
Guilty by association. I love it.
By the way, she has a book coming out called Ascension Denied, and it's awesome. I was one of the test readers for it, so I'll key in on that information too. But definitely, you should give it a.
Awesome. Yeah, make sure you share those links either on the Kickstarter page after it's done or whenever you feel comfortable, so everybody knows about that.
Our website is going to sort of also be, devoted not just to this project, but everybody who's here is part of other creative projects.
Right.
So we want to share the other cool stuff that we're doing, besides this project, and just hope that some people won't give a damn, but some people will like, oh, I really like the story for this game, so I want to check out Elizabeth's writing, or I really like the art for this game, so let me check out some of Austin's artwork, and and I think it's really cool, a cool way to build sort of an artistic community.
So I had a thought based on the interview that I heard with you and Water Polo from Game Source that I was listening to today, that 90-minute marathon that you guys had.
I didn't even know what happened to that time, man. It just disappeared.
You guys were debating how true to stick to the NES era. You wanted to keep it into like a 1987 kind of mapper,
right?
But you also had access to like Mario 3 type stuff, and you didn't know how authentic you wanted to go because, if you're going to be a limited kind of tech niche, then why not just go full blown?
And part of
I
it,
think you should do like a Mario 3 thing.
Yeah,
so, like, go with those tools.
Part of it too, though, it's not just that. Part of it is complexity of the mapper as well. So that's something to keep in mind too. If it was only a matter of, how slavish do we be to that 1987 idea? It's almost like for the frame story, I want to say that, but really for the fact that we're going to program the whole damn thing in a year, I'm thinking we need to simplify the process as much as possible. So, I currently have a MMC1, which is sort of like the 1987 mapper Metroid, Legend of Zelda Kid Icarus, like those games. I have a test part that I can already start to play with and whatever. I don't have a MMC3. I can get one. There's so many stupid things to consider. It's going to take me a month just to figure out, to go through my options and to figure out what the options are, let alone choose one.
Well, that'll be fun to watch on camera as well.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
I mean, this keeps coming back to, you've imposed this year-long limit to get to a nice marketing point, and everybody's telling you that you're folly for doing such a thing.
Yeah.
Are you more excited to hit a deadline, more excited to put out a quality game that's been stewing in you and coming out in every single artistic endeavor that you've done?
Here's the other problems, and again, everything is sort of and Benny, I saw. Give me 2 seconds to answer this, and I'll answer you. The other thing too is we are all creatives that are involved in several projects, and if this stretches out to a 4-year project like some homebrews do, we won't do it. It won't get done.
I refuse to believe you guys are not getting rich and famous off this deal.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
It'd be good to have a hit.
Hey, you were the one who told me to up the monetary amount to cover our.
Aren't you glad I did?
Yeah, no, and I knew that. I really wanted this one to hit. And once I saw what it was that we were actually going to make for this, and the team that we assembled, and the people who were interested from the start, I was like, yep, okay. Now I have more of a scope of what this thing's going to look like. But originally, when I was going to ask for $16,000 to do this solo, and cover the expenses, and so yeah. But I would have been there twice over by now.
Yeah, and I'm not going to let you take this documentary and just stump it at some 2nd and 3rd tier festivals. We're going to make sure this goes to market and you get a distributor on board that actually believes in this, so it doesn't go to waste and nobody sees your process. Shame on you for saying that in the interview. I know you just want to get going and you're focused on the game and the cameras will roll.
I didn't mean that. I just meant I don't know. I hope that the festival circuit picks this up, but that might not. We might not go the festival direction at all with it. We might find a distributor and do it. So I wasn't trying to downplay maybe the local festival. No, maybe
I'll run it in my basement off my main machine.
Yeah, right. Benny, the story limits beyond just graphics and sound only going to be present on the 8-bit version, or also have the modern version match them. On one hand, it would be interesting in the modern version, lets you see more detail of the game than the 8-bit version, but on the other hand, it could also risk making it too different. Something we were talking about too, and one of the games that we've been sort of using for influence on how we're going to be able to tell the story narrative with such minimal verbiage and stuff is in Journey. And Matt, you introduced me to Journey. And even a modern game, and that game has no verbiage, no cutscenes, not any cinematic cutscenes, no voice acting, whatever, and still is beautiful as far as this visual narrative.
Yeah.
It's like poetry.
I concur. I mean, I looked at films like WALL-E for the same thing for the first half of that film, what they're able to communicate without dialogue.
Right, and so we're considering that sort of attack, and if we do that, then both games can sort of have that same very little dialogue and match in that way. But we can obviously create a much more compelling experience when we're not limited to 3 colors and a certain amount of memory. And,
I would like to see the same story across the board. I'll just come out whether it's modern or 8-bit, because I think it'll be interesting enough in the doc to see you take something like you open this decrepit door that's about to fall off from the handle to the door just opens with a sound effect.
Right.
And how many times you have to reduce that imagination factor and just have it communicate by what else is going on in the game cinematics.
And you just sort of missed when we were talking about that, but we will say there will be a meta story that surrounds both games. They won't be the exact same game, but they'll be the exact same. So what you're discussing, you might not see that same door in the exact same way, but that door will be there in both versions of the game, sort of thing. You know what I mean?
So you're basically creating the video game version of Inception.
Right. Well,
we must go deeper.
Well, to add to that, we also talked about making the film viewable in a non-linear way through a very game-like mechanic on an iPhone, and so you'd have a game about the making of the game, which is also a video that shows bits of the documentary on an iPhone. That is Nestception. Nest. Nest.
Nice. That seems like a puzzle that a six-pack might not help.
Speaking of six-pack, I need another. Anyone else need another? Ooh. Oh, that's okay.
That's Peter's.
So Rob, when are we expecting to see your project?
It depends on where you live and what your schedule is like. We hope to do some screenings starting 2015. Probably by the springtime it'll start rolling out more frequently, but the digital release will probably be summer to fall, depending on the distributor we sign with. There are, like I said, some festival options that we'll cater to and build events around, but that's essentially what we're looking at.
Cool. Awesome.
So I hate to chat and run, but I've got a podcast I got to do in about 10 minutes, and I got to listen in for the queue. But I wanted to come by and say hi because I was excited about this hangout.
Dude, thank you, man. We appreciate you checking in.
No problem. Good, go team, and I hope you guys cross the threshold before Friday. I'm looking forward to everything you guys are doing and hanging out more.
We're suddenly a lot closer to that.
I'll see you in a couple months. Make sure the bourbon is on hand, and we have a convertible that we can drive to the desert.
Fantastic. As your attorney, I advise that it's a red convertible.
Later, man.
Cheers.
Yeah, Rob's cool. He has been very instrumental in not only, he's been instrumental in, since he met so many of the people that would be relevant to this project, introducing me to gaming groups and things like that would be into this kind of thing, but also, like, keeping my morale high. And not that it's, like, dipped, because we've had a pretty successful campaign, but oh my god, running a fucking Kickstarter is so stressful.
It's like a second job.
It is, and fortunately no one's been chipping. Matt, you
always
heard
nice when you
nothing.
let the first job slide.
Yeah, I've been having a little bit of a slowdown at work, so I've been able to sort of sneak a lot of Kickstarter time there. And Matt's the only one who could do something evil with that information. So,
So we played Journey for the first time last night, and just as an experiment in intuitive nonlinear storytelling, like how intuitive it is, I downloaded it and I didn't play it, and I gave it to Sherry and was like, "Here, play this, figure it out." How did that go?
It's fine. I did things. Because that world looks so vast, because part of it is they're trying to show sort of a background that they'll actually go to.
Right.
You know. But the other thing is, because I don't play games, I wouldn't call myself a gamer. I like Mario as much as the next person. I play here and there, but I don't have a lot of books to hang on. The various, I don't know, there's a language there that games have, that when you've played a million of them, you just know what
you understand the mechanics and stuff.
Yeah, that you know what this is going to be. Yeah. So there's a lot of looking around, and it's beautiful, so that's part of the point. But yeah, there's this one level where you do a thing and it creates a bridge, and there was another guy, and I saw him create a bridge, but I didn't know how he'd done it, and then I made like 2 other ones, and I was like, I did that!
Yeah.
So yeah.
And that's that's a really, and that's what, it almost feels like that's what games should be if they're trying to tell a story. They shouldn't be movies. Yeah. They shouldn't be cinematic experiences that you're playing from one scene to the next. That's not what a game should be. I mean, that's a type of game, and that's fine. But that's become synonymous with video games in general.
Totally.
And so to see a kind of game where the act of learning mechanics and exploring the world and learning how to play the game is the story. Like that's how you tell the story. That's awesome.
Mega Man X.
Well, and that's why I love, and that's why I point to Journey as an example. And another one I'll point to is Limbo. Amazing, beautiful, and have you ever played Limbo? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the next one on the list.
Is that the one? That's the one that's sort of black and white.
Yeah.
And, oh, okay, I've seen it, and I have played it a little bit.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. And that is beautiful, and it's so minimalist. There's no music. There's barely any sound effects. It's just there's no dialogue. And it's this beautiful, beautiful game.
And there's a great quote a while ago. The head of Atari at the time this in the 2000s. So whatever company bought Atari most recently.
Yeah.
But he was saying that video games are more akin to making music than to watching a movie. It's not a passive experience; it's an active experience. It's something that you are participating in.
Yeah.
And it seems like kind of an obvious observation, but it's something that I keep thinking about. It's like how to make a video game more participatory, more a part of the story, and driving it forward.
Yeah.
As opposed to what can I show you as a storyteller? What can I tell you?
What can I pull you through? What
Right.
what experience do I want to give you? It's more about what experience do you want to create. Yeah. And we've been talking about some methods to do that, in the non-linear way that we want to tell a story, and about the open world that we want to create. So basically, we have a beginning and an end, and then the rest of the thing. And I like that. It's a matter of what's possible, what's going to be possible.
Yeah.
But
I mean, to me, I guess to a certain extent, Dragon Warrior was a little bit of a sandboxy kind of game.
Sorry, we have a question. Are you guys taking the stock specifications for the music, or will you be attempting to utilize a sound chip to add extra channels, similar to what Konami did with Dracula's Curse? No! Oh my God, no! Please no! Now the main. I'm sorry, that question is from Nicholas. Nicholas, that is an excellent question, and we could go with one of the mappers that supports the extra sound channel and things like that. The problem with that is a lot of emulators don't play those, a lot of clone systems don't play those, and even some versions of the actual hardware NES have trouble playing them. And we want to make something that is actually very playable on NES systems, on ROM systems, on clone systems. And so we don't want to make a whole lot of modifications to the cart for the actual NES game. We want to add that, we have that cool thing that we want to do with the flash memory, but that's for a separate sort of experience. I would love to have, once you start to get into that, you start to get into this really weird world of, let's add this chip to do this extra thing that the NES isn't supposed to do. Well, if we do that, why don't we do this other thing that the NES isn't really able to do? And then all of a sudden you're not making an NES game anymore. You're not staying within the constraints. And part of the project is to stay within sort of those 1987 era constraints of building an NES game. So the game might not be as good because it won't have as much capability, but honestly, when you look at a game like Super Mario Brothers, think of all the games on the Super Nintendo that Super Mario Brothers is better than. Think of all the Nintendo 64 games that the original Super Mario Brothers is better than, despite its limitations.
You don't hum the tune to Dracula.
The way that you, yeah. You don't hum the tune to the third to Dracula's Curse as much as you do Legend of Zelda or Super Mario Brothers. So that's a good point. Ryan says, for the sake of swanky bass lines around the world, can you at least utilize a Sunsoft bass?
Could show you a picture of one.
We have. That's a tough. We'll see. I'm not. Our composer is not present tonight. So
you're looking like he might be here. He's hiding in the corner.
The US version of the NES had the pins normally used for special chips disabled. They could use them for the NES 10 security chip. But don't quote me on that. I remember some music and features in the US versions of games were downgraded because of this. Yes, that is a fact. And some games, I know it was the third Castlevania, and some late NES games used the MMC5, I think it was, mapper. And that's the one that a lot of emulators can't emulate, and a lot of clone systems can't play. And we don't want that to happen. And yes, it means we won't have this cool thing, whatever, but that's okay. We can still, like, the goal is to make a compelling experience despite not having those cool things, despite only being able to use 3 colors.
Absolutely. The measure of creativity is what you're doing within constraints. So we're having those constraints. Honestly, I think just the test music that you've done, a couple of tracks, I love them. I think they're awesome.
Nicholas asked if we had a mentor for a composer. I've reached out to Jake twice now and haven't heard from him. I'm sure he's a very busy guy. I'm sure he's got a million projects. I hope to hear back from him, and we'll probably hear from him over the course of the documentary. We know, so many people in the same circle as the people that are going to be in the documentary. they know him, like they have a personal relationship with him. So I don't doubt that we'll get in touch with him eventually. We haven't heard from him yet. We have, and this seems like it's completely to the outside the box, but we've been talking to the guys who do the video games live concert series that take chiptunes and turn them into these big orchestral experiences, and our composer is going to sort of meet with them over the course of the documentary and talk to some of those musicians and composers about what makes a memorable melody that can stick out in a full orchestra or in chiptunes, and kind of look at it in reverse. And we've also got a chiptune artist who's from Baltimore, who's done some really cool stuff, who is going to be sort of there to mentor and talk to. But there'll probably be more as well. And there's
Joe, you've got to get one of those guys that translates chip tunes to their Tesla coils. Plays it with it. If we have a great
Why not?
theme, we got to have one of those guys.
Why not? The Tesla coil composer is like standing in the middle of the cage. Yeah. That'd be awesome. Do you have any plans? Do you have any ideas, plans regarding distribution of the documentary?
Who said that?
It will be distributed. It's a plan. No, it's a little bit early to talk about that. I'd love to see it very sort of. Jay was asking, or Rob was asking the same thing. I'd like to see it publicly available on a Netflix or a Amazon Prime or something like that, where we're going to shop at the festivals and stuff like that. I don't know what route we're really going to take, but we will see. Nothing's off the table right now. It's really early to be talking about it, and my plan is to have every human being on the face of the planet Earth see the movie. Everybody. That is my ambition.
Even the ones that live in Amazon.
Yes, Amazonians. I don't know how. We'll project it on clouds in the sky. John says we got to at least show it at Minnesota Films.
I think we can handle it.
I think we can do that. Especially now that there's at least 4 of us, 5, counting Jesse, 5 Minnesota film folks working on it. But I am planning on having the premiere at Lake Ranch, red carpet type premiere. That would be awesome in October next year. And having our awesome executive producers invited and fly in and see beautiful Sarasota. John, you already see it, so it's not as special to you. I bet you wish we were having it anywhere but Sarasota. But yeah, what would be nice is if we get. It would be great to have you, the 2 of you guys, and Adam Goldberg if he will come out. That would be awesome if we can get him to Sarasota and see what we're doing. You're gonna go. Big man going to LA, huh? Son of a bitch. Just kidding. Okay. Ryan, yes, I'm drinking a Yingling. I spent 15 years in Baltimore and 6 months living in Shrewsbury, Pennsylvania, and I basically moved from the Amish country of Pennsylvania to the Amish country of Florida. So I went from the Amish summer homes to the Amish winter home. And, yeah.
He has a copy of the Amish phone book.
It's big. Well, what's really funny is I lived in Shrewsbury, which couldn't be more Amish, and I got the job down here in Sarasota, and my grandmother says, "I can't wait to come visit you in Sarasota. They have all the Amish things." I'm like, Grandma, I've lived in Shrewsbury for like a year. It's only a couple miles away.
It's minivans and home churned ice cream. It's not the same thing. As
Danny says we should have a premiere at the Man's Chinese. I agree.
Yeah.
We'll go.
Why not?
They should.
Right.
We can have a premiere at the 8-bit version of the Man's Chinese.
Leon, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping that we, one thing that's a consideration too is actually touring with the film, and I wish Rob was here because I think that's kind of what they're planning to do a little bit, and to tour to different cities as if it was, a rock tour, band tour, and show it at different small theaters around the country.
There's a certain validity to that because the one night premiere for a big film is kind of pointless, but we've been noticing that things that get us out to the theaters are the one night only kind of things that you have to be present for or miss.
Sure. And the other thing is too, there will be a bunch of musicians that are either directly attached or connected to the project. We could always do a film showing and then drink the night away having a rock concert at a local venue.
That would not suck.
I know, Aaron, less than 3K left. That could happen tomorrow. That could happen before the weekend.
Wow. Definitely.
If we can raise 3K in the next 2 hours and 40 minutes by some miracle, if we can raise, then we will have hit our goal in less than half of the time of the Kickstarter campaign. We've got 2 hours and 39 minutes. And if we can somehow figure out a way, somebody who wants to come on as producer for 5K, or have their own NES game made for 10K, or hey, there have been 2 or 3 people that have been very interested, and there's still one we're talking to. But that's a big commitment, and I will not just take their money. I want to make sure that it's something that I give them what they're expecting. And so we're working on that, but it hasn't happened yet. Anyway, if we could do that, we could actually have hit our goal in half of the campaign time. That would be retarded. No, that would be the opposite of retarded. It would be faster than not slower. So backers, when the project started, it looked like it slowed down, but now it's rocking back up. Well, and then that's the nature of Kickstarter. Every single one that I've worked on has had a lull. What's funny about our lull is that it was never really a lull. It wasn't as much of a blast as the beginning of the campaign, but if we at our worst lull, the day that we did the worst in the campaign, if that had been the average for the entire campaign, we would still have hit our goal. So we've never really hit a lull. I mean, new backer for $50. Daniel has pledged $50. Oh man, we are rocking. We are at $33,657. Woo! If we hit $36,000 in the next 38 minutes, we'll have to make a dance party here.
I've been committed to something. That's how commitment's on this project.
Matt, I should ask Matt for permission if that's okay. He's smiling at least. I'll take that as that you're okay with it, Matt. Well, anything else? That's a matter.
Oh, thanks, darling.
Well, thank you, Ryan, for spamming it to 2,500 Twitter followers. That's awesome. We appreciate it. Yeah. How about this down? I'm thinking about making Georgia Star Fox for Halloween. What do you guys think? Look at that. Wouldn't you make a great Star Fox? Was that a go for it for Star Fox or the Naked Dance Party? I wasn't sure. Both.
One dance is for free, the other dance is for free.
Oh my.
Yeah, that's how we roll here. We're just keeping it interesting, that's all.
Yeah.
You know what's funny too is there are still a lot of pledges that are coming in that haven't come in yet that I know are
So on my end, half of my friends haven't been pledged yet, but they went.
Yeah. So I mean,
I don't know what they're waiting for.
The bottom line is the more money we end up raising, the cooler of a project we end up making, the more creatives that we can hire to get this thing going. My goal is I want to actually showcase this game and other homebrew NES games at a major festival next year. Now, I think E3 is off the table, without Nintendo like being behind us. Only because it's like 80 grand or something to show at E3. It's retarded.
Oh, wow.
It's ridiculous. It's not possible.
Have an artist alley. of some
We should
sort.
call it
But GDC and PAX even more likely, because PAX is about the time we'll probably be finishing the project. So we could show at PAX next year. And what I want to do is have a
I love your booth idea.
yeah, I want to have an 80s living room booth. So the entire booth is a small 80s living room setup with a TV, an old cathode ray tube TV, playing a Nintendo with all the homebrews, including Mystic Search's homebrew, and it'll have like 80s posters, including 80s looking versions of homebrew NES posters. It might have a Nintendo Power magazine, but it'll be a custom-made Nintendo Power magazine with just the, it might be Nintendo's Powers or something. I don't know. We'll skirt around it somehow and have it on display. I thought that'd be really fun. If we get enough money, those are the kinds of ridiculous things.
Nintendo Powwow.
Aaron says it's like $50K for booth and like $10K a day for electric, and a crap ton more for internet, and then labor is nuts. E3 blows. Yeah, that's what I thought. Mystic Power. Mystic Power. That would be it. Or like homebrew power, or like NES power even. Yeah, we did look into it, Aaron, and it's about $80,000 to do a full thing at E3. The only reason it'd be cool is being the most visible gaming sort of convention for new upcoming games. It would be awesome to showcase homebrew NES games alongside. It would be like that's the ultimate showcase. But something like PAX would be equally as cool. And PAX, we could probably do PAX for like $10K plus travel funds. So we looked into that, and it looks a lot more possible.
That might be a stretch goal.
Or it'd be like not a separate campaign, but like people could, pre-order on through PayPal towards that.
Right.
Yeah, I guess we gotta start thinking about stretch goals. What do you guys think would be good stretch goals, and we can field them and say if they're possible. There just might be some cool things that you might think of that we haven't thought of yet.
We should put that out on the updates.
Yeah. For sure.
Super Nintendo version.
Oh yeah.
Playable internet troll. Best stretch goal.
That's not the first suggestion of that.
I'm glad that you saw that and liked it. I really thought more people were gonna watch that. It didn't really get any love. I think I just got to make more of them.
Yes. Yeah, he's been like in a cave somewhere.
I think we can definitely make a iOS game with it. Yeah,
Sure.
Troll.
Yeah.
And it could be $1 download, and then all that money could go towards Project Do.
I like it.
Would you play as him or would you defeat him?
I think play as him. Play as him. Yeah.
You can choose.
Choose. Both at once.
They're both.
Both at once. Yeah. Our local Game Jam game last year turned into trying to play two different games essentially with both of your thumbs. I don't even know how that.
It was a good game.
What?
It was really fun.
I think he would complain about the very game he is in.
That's the voice of the internet troll.
Okay, so Vanny's suggestion is that Nick says that you would defeat him to a mod. And then Vanny says, I think he would complain about the very game he is in, like a whiny like a whiny fourth wall breaking comic book. That's exactly what it should be. This game is stupid. Why don't I have more powers?
Make this game.
I can totally make a game better than you.
What if that's how the game progresses? Like complaining, you just have to keep forcing him. Ridiculous stuff. He starts out as a tiny thing.
So yeah. What ends up happening is we make this great campaign for the Mystic Searchers project, the New Infinite Heroes project. We raise $60,000 towards it, and we make a stupid iPhone game for this internet troll, and that's the thing that makes $1 million. Like that's the one that goes viral.
If that's a problem.
Yeah. We'll live with that. No naked dance party tonight. I don't think it's happening.
Oh, well. I'm ready.
You know, we do have a couple people we could probably call that would participate. I don't know if any of you would be interested in this at all. I know there's not many people still hanging with us, but this is just kind of a neat thing that I think we're going to do. We've got a fashion designer that wanted to get involved somehow in the project, and we were conceptualizing ways to do that. And we decided that it would be really interesting if the fashion designer built a cosplay costume, based on the 8-bit sprite. Like, you know, actually based on the pixel art, had to take that and interpret it as an actual cosplay outfit. It's almost like a modern game character. Like, and yeah, the model that's actually going to be representing the character, as long as everything works out correctly, is Hannah Fearman, who played Zelda in the Hero of Time film, the fan film Hero of Time, and she also VHS and a bunch of other movies. But for nerdy games, yeah, I mean, we worked with her before, Lee, and she's a really cool person. She has actually volunteered to be part, and we might even be showcasing this cosplay for the first time at Video Games Live in Atlanta, like before the campaign's even done. So like next weekend, not this weekend, but next weekend. But we're still talking the Video Games Live thing. We're not sure if we can film at the event, so it's a legal thing. So we're trying. But either way, she's going to be sort of the base for our evil character, it looks like, which is cool. It's kind of neat. And Aaron says that the 8-bit internet troll has to become so popular that he ends up starring in an annual game, and then he is really a true troll. And then people troll him.
Yeah.
And then, like, super trolls come out. That would be interesting, so that if the troll is the hero, you have to increase his trolling abilities. He has to become more and more of an asshole, and that's how you win.
Troll harder than his goal is to make the player rage quit.
The goal is to make the player rage quit. That is hilarious.
I love it.
No. The costume would actually be. I know exactly what you're talking about. I saw a great Zelda 2 cosplay where someone actually dressed up as the blocky pixelated Link.
Oh,
no. That was really cool. No, this is actually like a full-on costume, like what this would be in real life. And we just thought it was a cool thing. We're going to sort of do a mini documentary on the fashion designer building the outfit, and then what it's like to bring, you know, there's a certain sort of interesting story about looking at these little blobs of color that are only like one small step away from being incoherent, you know, little blocks, but somehow the way that they're organized suggests something, suggests a character, suggests a feature.
It's amazing how evocative they are and how much they fire your imagination, and how much they are specific.
Yeah.
You know, even as iconic and seemingly random as they are.
Yeah. Exactly. And so that's kind of what we were thinking about touching on with that. Although, if someone does want to cosplay for Halloween as a blocky version of our hero or villain or monster from our game, we would not hate it and make sure that got seen on our interwebs.
What are you scared of, huh? What are you so scared of? What are you so scared of? The chair moved. Barely started up for refill.
Let's see. The reason Mario has a mustache, I think originally his nose went too much with the rest of his face. And yeah, I think they originally tried to put a smile on his mouth. and they put it too low. It was like connected to his chin and didn't give enough separation. They put it higher, and they said, "Oh wow, that looks like a mustache." Okay, I guess he's Italian with a mustache, and thus he was Mario.
That for Donkey Kong or for okay. Right. Did you have a name?
Jumpman or something?
Jumpman, I think. Was
Yeah, his original name was Jumpman.
Which is
Jumpman Mario.
fascinating. You know, the limitations of the console again
Drove the character design.
drove the character design, and that's the kind of stuff that we're finding too. And that's I like that. That's interesting. We have a series of, and I actually saved them all, of all the original sprites.
Okay.
And I was like, and I told Austin, and Austin had never really done pixel art like that before. And I said, hey Austin, why don't you try doing some concept art for the character, and then we'll pass it to our pixel artist, and he'll sprite your concept art. And Austin said, well, it'd be easier if I had a sprite to work from, because I don't know what the limitations are.
Well, there was sort of this concept of, you know, if it's just going to become a sprite anyway, what's the point in doing a full drawing of it?
Because art.
But so we had a
I was
series.
looking for excuses.
So we had this weird series of images where I said, okay, here's the constraints. It's gonna be 60 by 60, 3 colors, and that's it. That's all you get. And just moving like a single pixel or a pair of pixels into a different location completely changed how you perceive the character, like what it looked like. And
I mucked around with it, you know, several permutations of this character, and none of them are even close to as good as what Darren came up with. So I'm clearly not a sprite artist, at least in the pixel realm.
and it just totally makes you appreciate the art.
Absolutely.
It's so
Absolutely.
interesting. There was an unreleased NES game that just recently a ROM surfaced of that moved ridiculously smoothly and fast too. Do you know what the game was? BioForce Ape. Yeah. BioForce Ape was something that was in development and scrapped, and then they basically revamped it. To my understanding, I could be wrong about this. I talked to someone who either knew somebody who worked on that project or told me I should get in touch with somebody on that project. That's somebody that's on Nintendo Age or NESDev. I can't remember. I could actually find out in a second. BioForce Ape. Ape. Monkey. I think the original game was completely revamped using sort of the modern understanding of the NES that we have now. I could be wrong about that, but that's my understanding of the events. So that's really cool too, because somebody took the BioForce Ape concept from then, and it could have been people who were involved with the original development, but they have revamped it knowing what we know now and going back and be like, well, now I can use this mapper, and now I can do this, and now I can do that.
They have access to like the original assets, or
I think so.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I don't know the whole story, but I know I was talking to somebody about BioForce 8. BioForce 8. Dane, yeah, sure, Dane Anderson from Nintendo Age. Told me to get in touch with. Where does it say BioForce 8?
You're searching for BioForce.
I just searched my email and I did find it. And wow. Okay. Some other important titles developers that would need more research would be BioForce 8. That was it. That's all the info I got. But yeah, Dane Anderson from Nintendo Age told me the same thing. I should check that out. So good, cool. I think we're winding
Like
down.
a sequel to Bionic Commando or something. That was a cool game.
I would like to see. You know what I think would be interesting? So there's a lot of games for the NES that were just shit. There's horrible games. They didn't play well. Graphics were bad. They could have been so much
it was
better.
just what concept can we rush?
Right.
It was a gold rush.
Right.
All that stuff was just from game design.
So there was a lot of games that people wanted to be better. You know, like they had those anticipations. It would be really interesting to see people go back and reduct
Make a
some of
game
those
that had
games.
cool assets or you know a cool mechanic of some sort and fix them to be a better game.
To be a better NES game. So like something that had horrible collision detection. Go back and make that game but with better collision detection, or you know, Georgia.
What is an example of a game that had terrible collision detection? I
There's
don't remember noticing.
there were a lot of games. I think the first Terminator was one of them, where like the collision detection, it was like a platform. You had to jump from thing to thing, but like it was this weird sort of angle that was trying to be almost 2.5D. Like it, so you
trying
think
to
you were
like
jumping,
isometric sort of thing.
so you think you were jumping on the platform, but you were jumping into like empty space because the
that's
collision detection
terrible.
didn't really work like that. But Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I was just remembering that game. I was, yeah. So now, what if somebody took it and said, looked at Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde and said, you know what, this game is terrible, but they did this and that with it. I can see where they were going, and I can make this a better game. And started to sort of remake some of those games. I think that'd be really interesting. Jonathan Spencer, what's up, my friend? You've also been sort of around for a while since the Zelda documentary, so welcome to the chat, man. Georgia! Shush! Sorry, my dog's barking. But yeah, I always thought that would be really.
I guess the gold standard would be.
E.T. Oh my God, that's the third documentary. Yeah. We go back to Atari and fix E.T. That's the documentary. Wow. Got it. I know, I was trying to get out there for it.
Didn't they find them?
Was that?
Didn't they actually find them?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, here's the deal. Here's the story. So, Georgia should make cameos right in the middle of the boss fights. Just cover the entire screen. As far as I know, the entire story, the urban legend said that the ET cartridges were so bad that Atari recalled them all and buried them in the desert, and that was what started the video game crash of 1983.
Yeah.
The real story is that Atari had a landfill site where they dumped electronics in the desert. And so when everything went belly up, that's where they dumped all their shit. So there's not just these cartridges in the desert, it's everything, all kinds of stuff. And if anyone wants to correct me, feel free, but that's what I. Hey guys, you like my sword? I don't see it. Let me see. Mr. Spencer. I'm putting you up on the screen. I cannot put you up on the screen. Never mind, I'm sorry. I don't see a video of you just to kill Mr. Spencer. I haven't seen. Okay, I'm sorry. Chuck says it was dumped in the landfill. I haven't seen Microsoft's documentary on it yet. Microsoft funded the project to find them. I was actually out not too far from the dump site when they were originally supposed to dig, and it was an independent, and it could have been Microsoft that funded them, but it was an independent production team that was doing a documentary on it that had gotten the green light. And I know it was postponed, and maybe it was postponed because Microsoft got involved. I'm not sure. No, I can't, Jonathan. I'm sorry, I can't see it. Then he left.
There has to be a strong narrative drive to get to a landfill for this. Really don't want to do that.
Landfill in outside of Vegas, in the middle of a lot of desert. Is anyone? Where's everybody from, by the way? Matt, I know you. Vegas, Santa Monica, Washington, Arkansas, Chicago. We are representing right now. I will likely be in. I can say that I'll likely be in Vegas, Chicago, and LA. So maybe I'll get to meet some of you guys. the programmer for.
Oh, okay, right on.
Cool.
Right on.
So I don't. The rest of the team's in LA, but I want to talk to him on a programming front. So
For sure.
I'm thinking about doing that. Plus, it's just a cool other city to.
I have a couch in Chicago.
Nice.
So.
Was that the people that live next door to the 8-bit monster card trading things? Is that where you guys went?
No, that's in LA.
Oh, that's in LA. Oh, I thought
Yeah.
you were in Chicago.
No, college friend in Chicago keeps offering couch. Sure.
I love Jonathan asks if there will be pie. Punch and pie. That's why nobody's here. We didn't offer punch and pie. We offered punch and pie.
That's not nobody. There's 70 people there.
Oh, I know. No. There was 50 people that said they were coming,
Ah.
and there was
The most
1,000 people that
important-
said
The most
Yes, the most important people turned up.
Exactly.
yes. But yeah, I think I'm coming to Chicago and Vegas and LA. So, what game is that back there? It is a main cabinet with like 7,000 games and a working coin tray and controllers of various types plugged into it for different gameplay experiences. Yeah, it's
Turned
hyperspin.
down so you can see what's on the screen. You need a filter for it.
Oh, I Battletoads, Jonathan. I Battletoads. Oh, that's right, Nick. You're in Whitesboro. He's in my hometown.
Oh, nice.
Nick. I know Nick's. I played football with Nick's brother,
Awesome.
which is really random. Yeah. But Nick, I'm actually going to be paneling at Retro GameCon in Syracuse in November.
Oh, sorry.
They've asked me, yeah. So I'm going to go up there and
There's talking about how there's a land named after.
oh yeah, we are Nick. There actually is a. Oh, is Angry Video Game Nerd going to be there? Well, shit, man. Maybe that I can finally connect with him.
Teach you angry to reply to your email.
No, he's just been really busy. I've actually talked to the musician that does his music a bunch of times. It's just, I mean, it's basically he's asked to do conventions every weekend, and we haven't been able to connect. But that's awesome. How was the movie? We haven't watched it yet. The Angry Video Game movie. It was fucking awesome. I wanted to hear it. We've been talking about having a Vimeo night. My wife's brother introduced me to Angry Video Game Nerd, so we promised that we'd wait for him. So we're gonna watch it with him. But yeah, Nick, something that you might find interesting. We were just talking about one of the locations in the actual NES game will be a beachfront that will somehow include Sylvan in the name, whether it be Sylvan Sands or Sylvan Beach or Sylvan whatever. Yeah, he laughed. So, yeah. So,
I told him we should have boardwalk fries as a power up. You didn't think that was fancy.
and I thought about putting in an amusement park there of some kind, and a decrepit, falling apart amusement park for trashy people. What do you think? Are the waters of Sylvan poisonous? Hopefully. At least very, what's the word? Seaweed, or that's not even seaweed. It's like
Sylvan
algae.
whitefish will be a monster.
Yeah, right.
There's more jellyfish than water.
The nerd would be. I think the Angry Video Game Nerd would be a great boss in the internet video, internet 8-bit troll game. That'd be pretty funny. Somebody's texting me. If you step in that water, it insta kills you. Make it realistic.
I'm thinking they should have their own version of the Coney Island whitefish, you know?
Yeah. Kills you and deletes your save. That's horrible. Well, guys, we got about 10 more minutes on your computer blows up.
They should share, if you haven't already, share the Kickstarter with her.
Yeah, if you guys wouldn't mind, now would be a good time to share the Kickstarter link on your respective social media of choice. Since we are running low, I've just put the link in there if you want to just copy and let everyone know that this is going to be awesome. Most of you have been doing that anyway. I know it. We're just trying for a big push. We just had, tonight, we've had another executive producer add to the project. We are so close. We are so close. And then the rest of the month is just adding some cool things to the project. Yeah, thanks. I know you guys have already been doing it. I just figured if anyone hasn't, awesome. Thank you. If there's any other questions you have for me, animator, narrative development, artist, concept artist, illustrator, we're all here to answer questions. The dog is Georgia, Princess Georgia. She's a mountain feist, which is a really exotic term for mutt. Ugly dog. Oh, she'll come by. Georgia, get over here. Get up here. You want me to boss? Come on. Oh, come here.
Like,
You want a chip? You want a chip? Come on, be a boss. Come on. Come on. Come up. You missed her. She's rolling over. Come on. Up. Come here. Okay. Here's Georgia. She is a good dog. She just barks a lot. I'm not a player. I just bark a lot. Matt like that one. He died. Yeah, any other questions about the project, the game, the documentary, suggestions, thoughts, offers? What are your top 3 favorite Zelda games? That was a question for everyone. For me, it is probably 3, 1, 2, honestly. Link to the Past, Original Legend of Zelda, and Zelda 2, believe it or not. I know that's crazy talk, blasphemy, but it is the truth. Let's go from Rachel. Just nice.
I like mine.
Link to the Past, Ocarina of Time, not sure about Link's Awakening. Ocarina of Time, Twilight Princess, and Link Between Worlds. I haven't played Link Between Worlds yet.
I heard it's like...
I have a feeling that'll be on my top list. I honestly, I know that like the 3DS is what makes it cool because it's got that cool dynamic of being in 3D, but I don't like handheld consoles as much. I don't have one.
Emulate.
Joke answer, all the CDI games. Guys, all the games, the really bad Philips edition. Yeah.
I don't know what that
Oh, man! Austin needs to be schooled. Can someone explain that joke answer that Vanny just posted? Yeah, Jonathan says, don't tell him. Just let him play them. Just tell him that they're the best Zelda games ever. Let him play them. Just watch the Angry Video Game Nerd review, he says. Well, I'll spoil it for him. Essentially, in the 90s, early 90s, Nintendo was teaming up with Philips to offer a CD add-on
So is Bandai.
to...
No, Bandai's Philips. Okay.
Because Philips ended up actually doing it.
Come on.
Or they were just producing the software response.
Maybe Bandai teamed up with someone else.
But there was a CD add-on to the Super Nintendo, like Genesis had their Sega CD.
Oh, okay, all right.
All right. And they basically got permission to use some franchises. They had franchise rights for Mario, Zelda, whatever. Well, everything imploded, and the deal fell apart. But Philips still had the rights to make X amount of Zelda games.
Oh, wow.
So they made for this Philips CDI system 3 basically unlicensed, quasi-unlicensed Zelda games, and they're just like the most horrible things ever. It's hilarious. Okay, let's see if anybody is correcting me. Nintendo tried to work with Philips, dropped it, but Philips still had the rights and made the worst possible game without Superman 64 in the title possible. They teamed up with Sony at first, but then they broke off the deal and it went with Philips, and Sony turned their edition standalone called PlayStation.
Yep.
The game, they didn't happen. They never happened. Oh, by the way, if anyone is a huge Zelda nerd, how many people have seen, this is an interesting factoid, how many people have seen the Link to the Future videos? Anybody seen the Link to the Future videos? Okay, the guy who voiced, okay, check this out. The guy who voiced the 8-bit internet troll is the same guy who voiced Tingle in the Link to the Past, or Link to the Future. Yeah, and if we have any voice acting in any of these projects, that guy. He also did all of the sound effects and voice acting for our 48-hour Global Game Jam project last year.
He also appears in Glass House.
He also appears in one of Austin's films, Glass House. Yeah, I thought it was kind of neat, just a little, little Zelda reference. High five.
You've done the Zelda thing.
Yeah, with Grant Duffer. He was a Ringling student.
Oh, yeah.
that I met by coincidence while filming the Zelda documentary.
Oh, that's right.
That's
that was a little
yeah.
That's so funny.
What's my favorite beer? What's our favorite beer? Who's got a favorite beer?
Magic Hat number 9.
Magic Hat number 9 for Austin.
Oh, Yingling, of course.
Yingling for Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Ace cider.
Sherry's only cider.
No. Ace
Oh,
cider.
specifically Ace cider.
Yeah.
I don't know the name.
I thought you said Ace cider. Like, not a beer, but a cider.
Yeah.
Whatever. I don't know the name. We've only had it once. It's super German sounding.
Super German sounding beer.
It does not narrow it
No,
down.
it's not. It's really long.
Danny, I'm with you. I'm a bourbon guy. Jonathan says super German sounding beer is his favorite beer too. Alright guys, we're going to get ready to jump off here, so any last minute thoughts or questions or anything? You guys have been awesome. Thank you so much for hanging.
Thank you.
We appreciate you checking in and hanging with us, and we got this now. It is like in the bag. I mean, if we have to, we'll give it a couple bucks and make it happen. So it's on right now. Yeah, you guys rock. Again, big props to Chuck and John.
For sure.
Collectively, two of the people that participate in this conversation have made up $5,000 of our backing. Without folks like you guys, holy crap! I mean, that's just awesome. So we really appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Keep following the progress and let us know. We'll probably do this again. It's fun. So when we have a little bit more to show and talk about for sure. So take it easy, guys, and we'll talk to you all very soon. Bye. No naked dance parties for you.